Well, good morning and welcome back. My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma, and this is what I call my morning musings. And we're talking about what happens in the new world, the new creation, or what happens after death for the child of God. Been offering an awful lot of thoughts on this. Appreciate the feedback, by the way. And one of the things that I've shared with you is the fact that the ultimate purpose of God was to reunite heaven and earth. God was in fellowship with man while man was on earth, while time was marching on. Man was in a biological body, but due to sin, man was separated from God. You know, someone recently claimed that death is never defined biblically as alienation, spiritual alienation. Well, obviously they haven't read the Bible enough. Isaiah chapter 1, your sins have separated between you and your God. Isaiah 59, same identical context, same identical discussion. We are as dead men. So here are those who are depicted as dead, and that death is their alienation is their death. Well, all of that aside, in the last segment I shared with you Revelation chapter 14 that describes the time of the harvest, which is the parousia. It is the judgment. And the angel declared with a loud voice, "Blessed are the dead who die in the Lord from now on. Yea, says the Spirit, they shall rest from their labors." Now this tells us several things. Number one, that the time of the harvest and the coming of the Lord is not the end of time. It is not the end of human history. Pardon me. Because men keep on dying afterwards. But notice that there is a blessedness attached to those who die in the Lord after that harvest. A blessedness that did not, or that was not attached to their death prior to that event. This is life after death. Does it give us any details? Does it give us any tremendous insight? Well, no, but it does tell us that it's rest, and that it's rest from labor. You know, I'm convinced here that the word labor is not simply saying, well, you know, you used to have to work 12 hours a day, but after you die, you don't have to work 12 hours a day. I don't think that's the point. I think the rest from their labors has to do with labor, covenantally speaking, striving to achieve perfection under a law system. Rest from that labor. The kind of labor that Paul says, I labored more than they all. I strove more than they all under Torah. Paul says there won't be that kind of striving, that kind of working. Well, another thing that's fascinating here is, and this is so eschatologically significant, let me observe again that this is after the time of the harvest. This follows the harvest. Now that means it is in the new heaven and the new earth, because the parousia and the time of the harvest is the time of the resurrection of Revelation chapter 20, which leads directly to the new heaven and the new earth. Well, the new heaven and new earth was foretold by Isaiah 65 and 66. I want you to notice something, and keep this in mind. Virtually all paradigms believe that the new heaven and the new earth follows the end of human history. The postmillennialists believe that. The amillennialists believe that. The premillennialists believe that the new heaven and new earth comes at the end of the millennium. Now, amillennialists, the view in which I was raised, postmillennialists, and dispensationalists don't believe there's any dying in the new heaven and new earth. There is no human history. Oh, but wait. Remember Revelation 14:13. after the coming of the Lord, after the harvest, which is Revelation chapter 20, in the new heaven and new earth. Blessed are those who die in the Lord. Revelation 20 and 21 is directly drawn from Isaiah 65. Watch this. Verse 17, I create a new heaven and a new earth. But watch verse 20. No more shall an infant from there, from where? The new creation, live but a few days, nor an old man who has not fulfilled his days. For the child shall die 100 years old, but the sinner being 100 years old shall be accursed. Now, here is obviously describing life on earth. It's not the end of human history. It's not man removed from earth. This is a new covenant existence. But there's still, notice the distinction, infants, old men, sinners. There are sinners in this new creation. In other words, life goes on. Let me reiterate. It is not the end of time. It's not the end of human history. But it is a world in which there are covenant blessings, in which this highly metaphoric language is used to describe a marvelous life, a life in righteousness, a life in fellowship that has been restored. Now, by the way, if this is the restoration of the life of Adam, if this is the restoration of the garden, then it proves beyond any shadow of a doubt that Adam was mortal and that he would have died biologically. For if Isaiah 65 and the new creation is the restoration of the garden, and if there's dying, biological old age, biological young age, biological death in the new heaven and new earth, and this is the restoration of the garden, i.e. the life of Adam, then Adam was going to die biologically, whether he sinned or not. So what do we see? What we see is the undeniable reality of a blessedness after physical death. What we find is that the new heaven and new earth is not the end of history. What we find is that the new creation reunites heaven and earth. Hey, this is great stuff. But you know, I believe we've discussed this about enough. I know there are more questions to be asked. Obviously, there always are. But I hope this little series has given us enough information to know without a shadow of a doubt that because of the resurrection of Jesus, you and I, as children of God, can have the absolute solid foundation knowledge that in response to Job's question, if a man die, shall he live again? That just as Paul affirmed, life and immortality have been brought to life and light through the gospel. God be praised that He offers us and that He gives us an eternal inheritance, incorruptible, undefiled, that can never fade away. Praise Him for that gift. Thanks so much for joining me. Don't forget, send me your suggestions, your ideas for what you would like for me to discuss here on Morning Musings. And again, let me remind you to please order a copy of my book, or We Shall Meet Him in the Air, The Wedding of the King of Kings. in which I have an extensive discussion of the nature and the definition of the life and the death of Adam, demonstrating beyond a shadow of a doubt that the death of Adam was not biological but was covenantal, and that through Christ we now have that life restored to us. Okay? Go to my website, www.eschatology.org, BibleProphecy.com, order the book, mention that you saw the offer on YouTube or Facebook, and I won't charge you shipping. So thanks again for joining me on this morning's Morning Musings. We'll see you on the flip side. You have a great day.